There are times when carelessness and greed can blind people to disaster. In the early morning hours of May 9th, 1992, mining crews are digging coal from the depths of Nova Scotia's Westray mine. They will come face to face with disaster. Pictou County, on the northern coast of Nova Scotia. It is an area rich in culture and tradition, with a history founded on hardship and hard work, much of it underground.
It was one of the areas that the Scots first founded in Nova Scotia when Nova Scotia was settled. People with long roots, long attachment to the land. 1, 2, 3 generations of the family may have worked as coal miners back in the days when coal mining was the lifeblood of the economy.
On September 11, 1991, in the village of Plymouth, a new enterprise is about to become a part of that tradition. It is the official opening of the Westray coal mine, despite the fact that Nova Scotia's coal industry has seen better times.
One of the big things that hit sort of was the death knell of coal mining in the 1950s in that area was the switch to diesel locomotive. And when that market died, it really was the end. And by the 70s and into the 80s, it became obvious that with the price of oil as it was and energy costs, that it would be viable again. So that was really what led to there being a Westray coal mine. It was over 200 good, well-paying jobs.
35-year-old Glenn Martin is one of those who see Westray as a golden opportunity, even though he has never worked in a mine before.
Previous to Westray, he never made a lot of money. It was all menial jobs, low-paying jobs. But he worked whatever he could do. He'd work 2 jobs if he could, and he was very frugal. He bought a house before Westray, and he was fixing it up. So when Westray offered the kind of work that he could do at good wages, it was great for him, very good for him.
4 crews work the mine, each following a schedule of 4 days on and 4 days off. Glenn Martin is part of B Crew, along with 25 other men. 39-year-old Danny Poplar is one of them.
He was a seasonal worker before at the frozen food plant, and he get minimum wage and barely surviving, and he was offered the job. It wasn't that he really liked the work, but the pay was good and he stayed.
Miner Benny Benoit shares something in common with Danny. Both are fathers of 3 girls, although Benny has recently become a grandfather at 42.
It was such a joy when we had our first grandson after having 3 daughters. He was just so tickled pink. He was jumping and literally jumping with joy.
Benny Benoit has worked underground before, but as a hard rock miner, digging for lead, zinc, and gold, and always far from home. Like so many of his crewmates, he sees Westray as a chance to make a change for the better.
He was just very tired of being away, working on contract, and leaving us behind. And we had sacrificed a lot while the girls were younger in being apart, and we figured now that they were older that we could get together and spend the rest of our lives together.
Like Benny, hard rock miners Sean Comish and Lenny Bonner have never worked a coal mine before, and certainly not a mine like Westray.
I'd actually drove Lenny up because Lenny was applying for a job there. And I said, well, I'll fill out an application, and got the job, of course.
The company's aim is to mine the last great band of coal in Pictou County. Known as the Ford Seam, it is said to be the thickest in the world.
For a coal mining company, the Ford's like the mother lode. The Ford in places was 10, 20, 30 feet thick, if not more.
Westray mine managers scrap the original mine plan and divert the main tunnels to reach the Ford Seam sooner.
The company was being pressured to meet production dates. They owed creditors, and they had to start producing calls, and they started changing and hurrying and pushing and that kind of thing, and things were getting worse.
It wasn't very long after that we decided, no, something's definitely not right here. I mean, our first day there was a cave-in, and every day subsequent to that we worked, there was a cave-in, every single day.
The revised route is fractured by faults that cut across the seam and weaken surrounding rock, causing more cave-ins than usual. But cave-ins aren't the only problem. While the size of the forged seam is an obvious advantage, it also has its disadvantages, including a highly combustible gas known as methane.
No, methane is a gas that's given off as you mine coal. It's a recognized hazard. The extra challenge of a mine like Westray is the seams in Pictou County were, by coal mining standards, extremely gassy. All of that coal meant more exposed coal, more methane production, a greater gas problem.
Underground ventilation helps keep methane concentrations below the explosive level, but it doesn't prevent the accumulation of coal dust, another byproduct of the mining process.
The coal dust was piled up to their knees. They even had to tie their pants at the top of their rubber boots in order to keep the coal dust from going down inside.
If that dust is stirred up and becomes airborne, it becomes like gunpowder. By law, you're supposed to spread limestone dust, neutralize it. You neutralize the coal dust. So if it does get stirred up, the lime acts as almost an insulator, prevents it from exploding. That wasn't done at Westray.
The enforcement of mining safety laws is the responsibility of the Nova Scotia Department of Labor.
And the mine inspectors did warn them numbers of times, and they were told this, they were told and told and told. Nothing was ever done.
Money, 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 money. Production, production, production. Not protection, production.
By May 1992, even inexperienced miners like Glenn Martin and Danny Poplar are aware that Westray is an accident waiting to happen.
He was scared to death. I remember one time he told me that they were taking bets on who was going to get hurt first.
He was very nervous because he didn't feel safe. He was not safe at all.
Friday afternoon, May 8, 1992. Westray's A crew is working the southwest section and the north mains, the deepest part of the mine, 1.5 kilometers underground.
There were two working areas of the mine, one called the southwest section, which branched off the main tunnel, maybe 3/4 of the way down the main tunnel. And the north mains being, they were an extension of the main tunnel, pushing the mine ever deeper, but was also being used to dig coal.
A large portion of the southwest section has been closed due to cave-ins. Crews have built a plywood barrier to seal up the methane gas that accumulates behind it. The A crew is just hours from completing its last shift before taking 4 days off. Sean Comish should be in a good mood, but he's not. He's concerned that one of the sensors used to detect methane gas is malfunctioning.
Later on in the day, I just kept having bad feeling. This is not right. Something's not right here. So at 5 o'clock, I told my shift boss, I said, I've got to go get my car fixed because I'm going home tonight. So I left at 5 and got my car and went home. I left 3 hours early.
Sean Comish is already at home when the men of B crew begin their 12-hour shift at 8 p.m. They too are looking forward to 4 days off when their shift ends at 8 the next morning. Mechanic Robbie Fraser, however, is very upset. He had planned to take his son fishing on Sunday. Now the mine wants him to fill in for another mechanic. Although his wife Joyce is 6 months pregnant with their 4th child, Robbie has already told her that he plans to leave Westray after his next paycheck. Benoit joins Glenn Martin, Danny Poplar, and 12 other men in the North Mains. Benny usually works with another crew, but a broken foot has kept him off work for most of the winter, and he's eager to pick up a few extra shifts. Danny Poplar is looking forward to the end of his shift.
He was going to take that night off. But his wife and them thought, well, finish your shift and then come home.
It is what all the men of B Crew are looking forward to that night, finishing their shift, going home. But Faith has other plans. Saturday, May 9th, 1992. In Plymouth, Nova Scotia, Alan Doyle operates a small bulldozer on the Westray mine site, scooping up samples of freshly dug coal. Just after 4 in the morning, a supply truck arrives at the mine entrance, driven by Alan's 21-year-old brother, Robbie, the youngest of 26 men currently working underground.
Robbie had just switched shifts, I think about a week earlier. He was actually on our shift. He's a good kid.
On this particular morning, Robbie complains of a headache from the bad air underground. He stays long enough to clear his head before returning to his crew. He joins 10 miners working the southwest section 300 meters below, including mechanic Robbie Fraser. The other 15 miners are farther down in the North Mains, including Glenn Martin, Danny Poplar, and Benny Benoit.
Benny would be a supervisor. And, his job would be to go to all the different areas where the guys are working, make sure that everything is okay.
Everything is not okay. Benny Benoit and the men of B Crew are unaware that at that moment, a silent intruder is rushing into the Westray mine. At 5:18 a.m., a deadly flow of methane gas moves into the southwest section and rises to the roof, gathering, waiting.
The mining machine was cutting the coal at the base of that particular roadway, and the pick cut into that stone, and that stone, that caused a spark.
Anybody close by probably would have felt like a rumble and then an explosion, just a bomb.
Fire roared out of that roadway, and it gathered up from it. They told us that was everywhere, and it blew up the coal, and that was a horrible explosion.
I think in about 8 seconds it went from one end of the mine to the other. And went forward, it was just like a shotgun blast from a barrel. All that energy just shot at the end.
A lot of people heard the explosion because it was so close by. One fellow just likened it to some giant's castle having its iron door slammed shut.
Rescue crews hurry to the site as word of the explosion spreads like wildfire. At home, Danny Poplar's wife gets a call from one of his brothers.
He called down to my brother's place, and his wife had answered the phone. And he asked if Danny was there, and she said, no, Danny's at work. And he said, well, there was an explosion at the mine. Is Danny all right? And she said, what are you talking about?
By 8 that morning, many families are already in Plymouth looking for answers. The road to Westray has been closed, and police direct them to the local fire hall overlooking the site.
When I first went to the hall, I was thinking to myself, I said, there's always one miracle in something like this. And I said, Glenn's gonna be it.
I just figured a small explosion, whatever it was, they could get through it and be up out of there in no time.
Rescue teams are already underground, outfitted with oxygen packs and breathing equipment.
The Cape Breton coal mines sent their dragger teams, their rescue teams, who sort of spearheaded the effort. And so it became very much this round-the-clock effort to get to the men, because it wasn't clear. There's always that hope, maybe someone survived.
When we got down past the southwest section, I didn't recognize points in the mine. Everything had changed. There was just stuff strewn everywhere. It had taken a 6-ton generator and thrown it about 14, 15 feet. And it was like dead silence. I mean, you could hear your heartbeat. It was that quiet. And it was frightening.
Throughout the rest of Saturday, rescue teams slowly push their way deeper into the mine.
There was huge rock falls, there was twisted beams, there was wire mesh, there was electrical cables. They were all down, they were all apart. They had to dig all that stuff out and make it safe as they went through. And the air was full of smoke and full of coal dust. Everything was slippery, sure. There was always the chance of a fall, of another explosion. If you lost your air, you were in trouble. Every minute down there was a danger.
Sunday, May 10th, 1992. Families across the country and throughout Nova Scotia are celebrating Mother's Day. But in Pictou County, there is little cause for celebration. Families of the missing miners still wait in the Plymouth Fire Hall, hoping for a shred of good news. Halfway through the morning, rescue crews reach the southwest section of the mine. Not long afterward, they discover the bodies of the 11 miners working there at the time of the explosion. Those sent to retrieve the bodies recognize many of their co-workers, including expectant father Robbie Fraser and B Crew's youngest member, Robbie Doyle.
The one thing I'll never ever forget is standing in the middle of 6 bodies. And they're just laying around, and you look down, you see young Robbie Doyle. And you know, I look down and see a 21-year-old kid, and his life is gone. I was just totally heartbroken. I mean, there's no words to describe how you feel.
That afternoon, Westray officials bring a list of the dead to families at the fire hall. Glenn Martin, Benny Benoit, and Danny Poplar are not among them.
And boy, I can remember at the time just praying, please, please, don't let that be my brother, you know. Please, don't let it be my brother.
And I truly felt blessed because I thought, oh, there's hope. Like, he's not dead, there's hope. And I totally had faith that he would come up.
Over the next several days, rescue crews move deeper into the mine, cautiously picking their way over mounds of broken rock and debris. They are headed towards the North Mains in search of the remaining 15 miners.
Until the first bodies were found, there was that hope. Maybe someone survived. And even after that, there was still some hope that maybe in the deeper part of the mine, a cave-in might have created a pocket of safety.
Wednesday, May 13th, 1992. Church bells ring throughout Pictou County as 5 of the 11 miners taken from the Westray mine are laid to rest. It has been 5 days since the explosion, and families of the remaining miners still wait at the Plymouth Fire Hall. For some, the waiting is about to come to an end. The bodies of 4 more miners are found in the deep recesses of the North Mains. All leave wives and children to mourn their loss. Once again, recovery crews bring the bodies to the surface, in constant danger of becoming victims themselves. When recovery crews find another body pinned under a massive rock, they realize there is little more they can do. Rescue operations are suspended. The bodies of the remaining 11 miners will not be recovered, including Glenn Martin, Danny Poplar, and Benny Benoit.
When we found Glenn wasn't going to come back, we weren't going to see him again, alive or dead, it was devastating. All of a sudden, it was just like pricking the balloon. It was collapsed.
At the end, I just realized that really he was dead and I didn't have a body. Where the other ones, after 2 days, at least they had a body that they could bury.
Later that same day, a coroner's report reveals that the victims died almost instantly from carbon monoxide poisoning after exploding methane sucked all the oxygen from the mine. On May 19th, 3,000 people attend an official memorial for the 26 men who died in the Westray mine. It is Canada's worst mining accident since the Spring Hill disaster in 1958. A public inquiry into the tragedy begins immediately, but it will be a long, drawn-out process. In the meantime, a government study decides that the Westray mine is just too dangerous to reopen, putting 160 miners out of work.
It was the loss of a major employer. It was the loss of a promise. 15 years of work. Didn't last a year.
In December 1997, the public inquiry finally releases its report, condemning both the operators of the Westray mine and government agencies responsible for its regulation. The inquiry makes more than 70 recommendations that call for new mining regulations and changes to the way they are enforced.
In Nova Scotia, there's now a new set of underground mining regulations. So that was updated. There was a general overhaul of the Occupational Health and Safety Act in Nova Scotia. So that affected every workplace.
While the Westray explosion brings important changes, it remains a disaster that never should have happened.
I can remember at the time, I just had so much anger, so much grief. Not knowing how to deal with it. I even wrote a letter to my brother. Know when he was gone. Just telling him how much I loved him.
It's been very, very difficult to live life and to go on without having the man that you have been with for so many years and having to have a new identity. It turned me to be a widow, which I wasn't ready for, which I didn't want. I know that he's always there. In fact, he's a guardian angel to myself, to my daughters, even to my friends will say that. You know, he will always be there.